Everybody, this is John Self. We will be with you shortly. We're running late today. We've had a couple of clients get new jobs, and we've been working on logistics this morning. So we are 6 minutes after the hour, so we're running 6 minutes late. We'll be with you shortly. Stay tuned for Your Career Questions, where we'll be answering live your questions. Hi, everybody. I'm John Self. Welcome in all of my orange. It's Friday morning. We've had a very, very busy morning here. Apologize for being about 7 minutes late to get started. This is our last Your Career Questions episode until later this summer. We're going to take a little bit of a hiatus. It doesn't seem like there's a lot to put this stream together, but there actually it really is. So we're going to take some time and work on some new content, work on some new program development, and then we'll be back here toward the end of the summer. So I hope if you have questions you want to ask, even if you just want to pop on and just say where you're from and where you're watching from, that's great. And we'll be getting to some questions shortly. Let me tell you about some, we've talked about this a little bit. We had talked about making a change to our membership dues. My advisory panel said, nah, that's not a good idea. And so we're going to keep it at $49. If you sign up between now and August 1st, you will be a founding member, and we'll hold that $49 rate as long as you want to keep it. The second thing is that our rate for consulting for members of the Your Career Community member is $75. That's about a 50% discount over what you would get if you were in if you were looking for live one-on-one coaching. That's a 50% discount over what you would be paying if you were in our premium program. So plus you get three phone calls or 4 phone calls a month for 30 minutes. You just have to schedule them. We're setting all of that up over the weekend, and it'll be available to go on Monday. So join us. You know, one of the things that somebody said, what was key to your success? And it was the fact that I'm somebody who thrives on enthusiasm, and enthusiasm is an extremely infectious kind of quality to have. And I think that's one reason that I sold all those helicopter ambulance programs. I built the second largest rural community hospital system in the 1980s, and why I was successful in building 2 search organizations. And it is I'm somebody that if you really torque my enthusiasm or really give me a lot of praise, then I'm off to the races. You can 10x my output, my contribution. And you know what? I found that I thought I was one of the few people out there like that, and I found that there are a lot of people like that. They don't admit it because they think somehow it's a character weakness, or it's somehow if they were really good as leaders, they wouldn't need that. Well, that's just not true. There are a lot of people out there that need encouragement, that want to be supported and want to be told that they're doing a good job. And when you do that, they just light up and do even more work and do better work. So one of the things that I've also noticed is that in the long cycle job search, which is what a lot of executives and managers are facing today, the long cycle job search is very, very depressing. It's really hard on people. And there after a while, your spouse or your partner just gets tired of being the person who has to keep picking you up and giving you some uplift and some enthusiasm. So one of the things I want to tell you about is that in our Your Career community, if you need help like that, if you need somebody to get to know you and support you, that's what we're here for. And your spouse, your partner can only take so much. I know I've been there. I've got a couple of t-shirts. So one of the things I want to stress is that if you become a member of Your Career community, we'll be there for you. And I say this: you text me over the weekend and say, "Look, my stinger's in the dirt. Please help me. I've got all this stuff I got to do. I've got a big interview on Monday, and I just feel like I'm wasting my time. Can you give me 30 minutes and help me get up off the ground?" And the answer is hell yes. That's what we're here for. So you need to be able to talk. You need to be able to vent. You need to talk about your frustrations. You need to be able to have a sense of just to be able to say, God, I must be the dumbest person in the world. I'm screwing this up. We'll help you get on the right track. We'll help you do those core things that will help you try to expedite your job search. But the one thing you need to understand, it's not just you. The market has contracted. It's a very difficult time for managers and executives to find jobs. It's taking 8 to 14 months in some cases. And so we're here to help you get through those times. And we're here to give you the resources to try to plan ahead so that if you do lose your job in a layoff or a consolidation merger, that you have a head start on your competitors. And it's a zero-sum game. You get the job, somebody else loses. You get laid off, somebody else won, you lost. And so it can be pretty tough. Okay, let's get to the questions now. This is from Rita in Sugar Land, Texas. How did you become a career coach? Why did you make the change from recruiting? That's a great question. Let me start with recruiting. I loved recruiting. It kind of goes back to my days as an investigative reporter and police reporter for the Houston Post. I love to get to know people. I love to ask people questions. I have a natural curiosity about people. And so I really, 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 enjoyed that. When I was in affiliated hospitals, I helped recruit CEOs and I helped recruit doctors, and I enjoyed that. When I was with the helicopter company in the 70s, I helped them pick people to run their programs. If they were going to implement a lifelike type program for their hospital, I would help select their directors and then would help onboard them to help them get up to speed so they would know how to operate the program. And I enjoyed that. And so when I left affiliated hospitals and I did some turnaround work for rural community hospitals for a couple of years, and we saved a couple of hospitals, which I'm very, very proud of. But I needed to do something else. I grew up in Tyler. I swore I was never, ever coming back to Tyler. I swore it. I also had gone through a nasty divorce, and I swore I was never going to come back to Tyler and never were going to get married again. And March and we just celebrated our 29th anniversary in Tyler. So here I am. But to get back to the point, I decided, look, if I'm gonna keep this relationship, we'd started dating, and I thought, if I move, there's nothing for me here. But if I move, this is dead. So I need to build a business that I can stay in Tyler, and that's exactly what I did. And I built a search firm, and it was called John March Partners, and it was around for 18 years. I left after the 16th or 17th year with a unfortunate dispute with a partner, and those things happened. And I started another firm, John G. Self, and we were off to the races again. So one of the things I want to share with you is that I left recruiting because I had been traveling most of my adult life. I'd started traveling with the aircraft company and leasing helicopters to hospitals. I traveled extensively with affiliated hospital systems around Texas and Louisiana and Arkansas, Oklahoma. And then when I got back into recruiting, I started traveling again. And so after 40 something years of travel, I thought, this is enough. And it's not very much fun anymore. When I started traveling, Braniff International was a big Dallas-based airline that had incredible, spacious seats, and you had choices of entrees and coach, and first class was just the cat's meow. And but now first class in United and and so many other. It's like it's not even really what coach used to be. And so I just got tired of it, and so that's the reason quit recruiting. Not because I didn't like recruiting; I still enjoyed that, but that times were changing and customer expectations were changing, and I thought this would be a great idea to take all the knowledge I have of business development, of recruiting, of organizations, and then really try to help people who were trying to elevate their career, coach them on how to get a better job. And we started off and it was a traditional telephone consulting practice, and we would have telephone calls, and then the pandemic came along, and right before we had shifted all of our coaching to Zoom, and which we still use today. So I have a TV studio here in Tyler. You're seeing the unvarnished view in the background. Normally we have green screens and other things for background purposes, but I work from a TV studio in Tyler, which is a nice word for it's a guest bedroom that's been cleaned out of all the guest beds, and the TV lights have been moved in. And so when I'm not I'm doing live streams and recording videos, I'm working at my desk here. So it's been really good. I don't miss traveling one bit. I took a trip to see my daughter at Christmas, and we drove. And I just did not want to fly. My wife is going to California later this month, and she is going to fly, and I'm going to stay here because I don't want to go. I don't want to fly. And I still have my TSA number. I'm getting my passport. We may take an overseas trip at some point, which if I can fly from Tyler and not have to stand in big lines, I'm all in. What I don't want to have to do is stand in I've got a TSA number and I have a lot of miles, but I don't want to stand in a big line at DFW or Washington National, someplace else. So that's one of the reasons I got out of recruiting. But the other is that I like the one-on-one of TV coaching, video coaching, and I like the idea of teaching people information to help them have a better life. I really enjoy helping them align what makes them happy with the work that they do. Not everybody is in alignment there. And let me tell you something, if you're not, it can be a real it can be an unhealthy situation. Now, you have to have work-life balance, okay? If you love your work, that's important because that allows you to be happy at home. If you're not happy at home, it's hard to be happy at work. And so, we try to help people find alignment. And I really take great deal of joy at that. I enjoy teaching people how to tell their stories in interviews. I enjoy teaching people how to put together a resume in this new automated environment where you have to basically create a resume for every job you're going after. People don't like that, but it's just the facts of life, and you got to customize your resume. If you don't, you won't probably get picked up, and just extends the time of your job search. When I started recruiting back in 27, 28, almost 30 years ago now, it was a 3 to 6 months, 7 month. If you lost your executive job or management job, it was 3 to 7 months. Now it's 18 to 14 months, 18 to 14 months or even longer. And when you start getting past 15 months, everybody starts thinking there's something wrong. And so one of the things we do in our coaching practice is we spend a lot of time trying to teach people techniques and skills to help them accelerate their search practice. So that's the reason I made the big change. I'm now a gentleman of a certain age, and I miss the people. It was always so nice. It made you feel good when you'd show up at the O'Hare Hilton and all the front desk people knew your name because it was the fourth or fifth time you've been in that month. And I miss the people. Harrisburg, Pennsylvania had great people. The Hilton in Chicago, wonderful people. The Hilton at the airport in Seattle, just incredibly great staff. The Hilton down in San Francisco, now by the airport. So I met some incredibly wonderful people. I miss that. I miss that interaction. But anyway, I've dathered on, too long. Let me see something here. Boom. Hey, it's good to see you. Thanks, Dofuk. It's good to have you on the stream today. As I said earlier, this is our last stream for the summer, and we'll be picking back up in August. Okay, so you've got Rita, I gave you the long version of why I stepped away from recruiting, and I was pretty good at it, but I enjoy coaching a lot. I'm afraid our company is going to announce a layoff soon. What steps can I take to be prepared? First of all, if you're in a company that has more than 100 people at one location, then check the WARN website, WARN. It's a federal website. It'll direct you to the state where you live. In the state, under law now, companies with more than 100 people in a location have to notify those employees that they're going to be laid off. And so you can actually get a head start on knowing when the layoffs are coming if you keep an eye on the WARN site. Now, let's talk about that's one thing. Knowing that it's going to happen is really important. So don't discount that. Now, let's talk about some important stuff. First of all, if you haven't updated your resume, update your resume. Now, in the old days, updating your resume meant that you were ready to send it out. Now you're updating your resume to get ready to revise. And I know that sounds counterintuitive, but it's exactly what you have to do. So get your resume up to date. Be sure all of your information is correct so that you can then, when you start applying for jobs and you start customizing your resume to use the keywords and phrases and the experience requirements on the job summary from online, that you can do it much easier, much faster. Time is of the essence. The longer you're out of a job, the more difficult it is to even get interviews. So you got to move in a hurry. The second thing you need to do is before you go to market, you need to understand what is your value. So if I said, tell me about yourself, you don't start talking about your resume and where you've worked and where you went to school. That's not what we're interested in. When you get that question, what we really want to hear is, what are your values? Why do you want to work here? What can you do for us that's going to be worthwhile for us to hire you? And you're going to get that question probably 80 to 90% of the time as the first question. And take charge. If you nail that answer, you have a really good chance to have an elevated performance in your interview. And that's so important because the first 90 seconds is so critical in a job interview, especially when you apply. You probably realize that you were one of 200 or 300 other people who've applied for the job. So you want to be sure that you are absolutely nailing it on that job interview. And so you want to get your value down. That helps you stay focused. Your value brand statement is who you are, why you do, what you think you're really good at, and you can really work on these things. And we help, that's part of our coaching practice. You can get all of this you get access to all of our coaching videos online on demand for $49 a month, and there's no contract. So you can just constantly go back and look at stuff for research. Plus, you get discounted one-on-one coaching. Okay, so let's move on a little bit now. You want to understand your value. You really want to have a value brand statement that says this, why you should hire me. And you're going to use bits and pieces of that VBS, just like a politician uses bits and pieces of his normal stump speech. So you get really good at it, and you get good, not because you're naturally talented. You become good, you become accomplished, not because you had God-given innate talent. That doesn't exist. There's no evidence whatsoever in research that people that had certain innate talents. You get to be a good interviewer because you work hard at it and you practice. You get to be really accomplished in networking because you work hard at it and you practice. That's what it takes. This is not going to be an easy process going forward to have a career. Now, if you do it well, you can have a great, rewarding career, and that's important. But you can't just sit back and just kind of let life wash over you like you used to in the job search business, because it's just totally different today. So I hope that's a little bit of information to help you. If you ever have any questions that when I say something in this program or any other and you want to talk about it, you can go to our website at johngself.com. You go to the bottom of the page and there's a little tab down there that says Talk to John. You click it and it'll allow you to set up a 30-minute call with me anytime you have a chance. So I'm happy to do that. We're here to help people. Let's see. I'm afraid, okay, we've talked about the company. What steps can I take? Be organized, get your resume up to date, understand your values, and start practicing your interview techniques. And we have free forms that we're happy to give you on that. If you have any questions, just let me know. Okay. I've been looking for a new job for more than 7 months. I'm in retail. I'm a retail executive. I've never had this much trouble before. What is going on? what am I missing? And this is from Daniel in Montclair, New Jersey. Daniel, good morning. I did a search for a hospital in Montclair. Great part of the state, wonderful people, great hospital. I think it was called Mountain View, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, first of all, what's happened, and it started in 2010, 2011, 2012, where companies began to broaden the jobs that their executives and managers did. So in the old days, if you were an accounts payable clerk or you were an accounting person, that's all you did. And now you go in and there's what we call job elasticity, which means jobs are being expanded. And so if you may be an executive, you're not going to be just doing one area of oversight. You may be, instead of having 5 departments, you may now have 10 departments. And you may be doing different kinds of work. It's called job elasticity. And so what's happened is they were able to do more with fewer people. That's really important because in healthcare and some other areas, retail, cost is very, very critical. And so, and the nature of healthcare, the nature of retail, the nature of communications, the nature of manufacturing, they're all changing, and they're changing at really incredible speed. And so what you have to do is you have to understand that there's now people are doing more with less. And when a CEO looks down and says, okay, I have 15 fewer executives post pandemic than I did before, and I'm doing the same amount of work, we don't need those people. Get rid of the cubicles, get rid of the desk. Let's get smaller office space, save money, be more productive, be more nimble. That's what's happening. That's where it's going. So the reason it takes longer for you to find a job today is that there are fewer jobs and more people competing for them. That's why it's so important that you understand your value, that you really do a good job customizing your resume to meet the needs of the specific employer. You can't just throw something out there and hope that it'll all work out, because it won't. And when you go interview, you got to sell yourself. And at the close, you've got to close the deal. I'm really interested in this job, and let me tell you, here's why I think I can add value to your organization. People say, they don't want to hear that. Yeah, they do. That's exactly what they want to hear. They've got 10 or 15 people to choose from. Why not? Who are they going to choose? They're going to choose first the one that really came in and was enthusiastic and knowledgeable, that had the experience, but they liked and trusted. And guess what? What's going to stimulate that decision? Emotion. So how you deliver your information sometimes can make a big, big difference. We do that. We talk a lot about that in our interview course that we do live one-on-one. We occasionally do a portion of the interview course on some of our live coaching programs, and that's going to be coming up. I think we've got one coming up next week, as a matter of fact, on office hours on Wednesday at 4:00. Let's see. So Daniel in Montclair, you're not really missing anything other than there's just fewer management executive jobs, and it's not just you, it's not just retail, it's across several sectors, and it's called the white collar recession. And the forecasts are this is not going to improve anytime soon. As a matter of fact, as AI is introduced and more jobs are eliminated, you're going to have fewer entry-level positions, and fewer clerks, fewer administrative people who are doing rote assignments. So you'll need less executives to oversee all that function. You'll need maybe 1 or 2 to oversee the technology, but you're not going to need 4 or 5 managers or 2 or 3 executives. So AI is going to have an impact on the management executive level hiring as well. So that's just something you got to be aware of. You need to get your career plan up to date, and you need to get really busy, start building a network that supports your career objectives. And where do you want to go if you lose your job? If you're in Tyler, Texas, and you're in healthcare or you're in manufacturing, you lose your job here, you're going to have to move, because there's probably not another manufacturing job or another healthcare job that's got to be had in this community. If you're in Houston, that's a different deal. But if you're in a secondary market or a small primary market, you're going to have to move. So do you have a plan? Where do you want to go? Have you started targeting and getting to know people in areas where you would like to live? If you haven't, let me tell you something. It's going to be a really tough slog. It's going to be a really, really tough slog. And a lot of people get really discouraged because they've never been rejected as much as they are today. And what you're going to see in employment is more automation. So more and more computers are doing the sourcing and the initial scanning and the initial screening and of the resume. So that's why you have to customize that resume. Okay. What advice would you give to any college age children you have? Well, my kids are out of school, a lawyer, and another's in transportation, I believe it is how he describes it, in Houston. And I have a daughter on the West Coast who is a internal communications senior executive for Match.com, and I have another daughter who is kind of the chief executive officer of our home in Westport, Connecticut, and stays pretty busy doing that. So let me just say what advice I would give. Well, first of all, parents come along, they get these notions. Okay, you need to get into technology. You need to learn how to be a computer programmer. Stop. Let me tell you why that's probably not going to be a good job to have in the future. Why? Because most entry-level computer programming jobs are going to be replaced by AI, because the computer can code much faster and much more reliably than a human can. I know that's crazy, but when automation becomes automated, it's exponentially more and more jobs are eliminated, more and more things are happening, and it just picks up the pace. So I've had a lot of people who got technology degrees and said half the stuff they learned that they learned early in the degree program was obsolete by the time they got out of school. And so I would take some technology courses. If you're interested in mathematics or science, that some of that, but I'd also take some courses in the liberal arts because that'll help you become a more well-rounded job applicant. And you need industry experience, you need industry credibility, you need to have enough coursework and enough knowledge in minors or majors so that you can get into the industry that you've targeted. But having that extra, understanding of literature, it's going to help you become a better manager, and that's what it's all going to be about in the future. So that's just something to consider. I would not, it was at one point, a lot of fathers who were doctors or mothers who were doctors said, "I'll never recommend that to my children." Well, they're kind of rethinking that, because being a physician is going to be one of the safer jobs in the whole mix, because AI can't do diagnostic work on patients. Now, it's certainly they use AI on telehealth, but it's not the same thing. So, being a physician, being someone in the trades, home building, plumbing, those are not things that can be automated. And so, you have to look at the future of work and what impact will automation have on your area of expertise. So, I would tell my children, to be flexible, to take courses that don't get too narrowly focused in one area, because that might turn out to be an area that's no longer valid. And I have seen people take courses and then find out that was a kind of a fad and it didn't work out, and really struggle to kind of find their way back. How long is the white collar recession going to last? I'm running out of money. Bob in Chicago. Bob, I've been there before. Sometimes when you start a company, oh gosh, it's so exciting. It is so exciting, but it's also scary as hell. And you wake up in the middle of the night, you go, God, where's the money going to come from for the rent on the next month? And how am I going to make the payroll and all those other things? And you literally wake up in the middle of the night, you just almost can't stand it. I've had made more pots of coffee at 2:30 in the morning than I ever want to discuss with anybody. And so let me tell you about how long this is going to last. A long time. Okay? Don't mean to be discouraging, but you just need to plan like it's going to be here. We think you're not going to see any change whatsoever in terms of executive hiring through 2025. If anything, we're not going to see any increase in executive hiring. We will see some decreasing. Now, and people say, that's not going to happen. Do you know how many people have been laid off in technology in the last 2 years? Over 400,000 people have lost their jobs. So, and technology was one of the industries that drove hiring. Now, if you're in healthcare, you're a nurse, you're going to always pretty much have a job. If you are a clinically oriented person, a physician assistant, those people are going to be they're going to be able to find jobs. But if you want to run a hospital, it gets real difficult, real dicey in a hurry. If you want to run a retail company, it's going to get challenging because there are a lot of people out there looking for those kinds of jobs. So you're not going to see any change in the employment picture. If anything, as AI is introduced, it's going to become more and more challenging. I think British Telecom talked about laying off 50,000 people in the next 2 years, 3 years, and that 10, you know, 5 or 10,000 of those were going to be directly related to AI implementation. Okay, let's see how we're doing on time. We're running just about out of time. What do you like the most about being a career coach? I like helping people. I like that I don't have to travel. I like the idea of helping people sort through their lives so they can, you know, help them find the thing that excites them, that they are good at, and that aligns with their happiness. And there's so many people now that are doing jobs that they're not very happy at. It was really interesting. I went to a meeting and there were a bunch of lawyers there, and most every one of them did not want to continue practicing law. And so it was just really it was really a shame. And they made good money. They all in the room were all top producers, but guess what? They didn't like it. They weren't happy practicing law, and every one of them, as one guy said, if I left my job just because I was unhappy, my wife and kids would shoot me. I'd probably end up getting a divorce because I can't make this much money doing anything else. But I hate what I'm doing. Well, that's a terrible place to find yourself, and hopefully, people coming up in their careers, we can help them avoid those kind of train wrecks. But that's one of the things I like the most is helping people get to where they want to be, where they need to be, and where it's financially advisable for them to be. So, I hope this has been helpful. Listen, everybody, I've enjoyed doing this question and answer session for the last several months. Again, this is just a good time for us to take the pause so we can get some other work done through the summer. We'll be back, I think it's mid-March. We'll be back with Your Career Community question and answers. If this has been helpful, refer it to your friends. Check out our other live streams that are on video on our YouTube channel, Guiding Your Career, John G. Self, and they're on that part. Now, starting in August, office hours will become a members-only educational stream. And then probably before Christmas, all of our streams, with the exception of Career Live Thursday morning, and this program will be members only. So if you're not a member, we encourage you to sign up. There's no contract. If you're not getting the value you want, then you tell me, and we'll take care of it. You won't need to pay any more for any more months. Because we don't want to be selling people stuff that they don't want or don't need. I hope this has been helpful today. If you have any other questions, you can send them to info@johngself.com. I hope everybody has a great weekend, and we'll see you next week at Lunch and Learn and Office Hours.